Hey guys, welcome back to Matthew's Ballistics. Hope everybody had a Merry Christmas yesterday, and today is range day. So we're finally getting to test this very impractical experiment of a ultra long range, low drag, high ballistic coefficient 454 Casull round. If y'all haven't seen the other videos I've done on this, where I was basically developing this and working through this project, these are high ballistic coefficient, more or less. They're muzzle loading bullets that are used in these newer muzzle loaders that use smokeless, modern gunpowder. So these bullets are used to being pushed upwards of 2,800 feet per second in that area, and they've been shooting these muzzleloaders out upwards of 1,200 to 1,500 yards. So I thought, why not use it in a centerfire cartridge? And it uses the same diameter as a 45 caliber projectile. So the 454 Casull uses a .452 diameter bullet. This is a .452 diameter muzzle loading bullet. So the diameters are the same. There's no issue with it seating into the case. So I went ahead and loaded them into these cases. I had to experiment with using other types of dies to get this to work. To seat the bullet, I actually used a 6.5 Creedmoor bullet, seating die, and as long as you adjusted it all the way out to where the seating stem didn't actually touch it, there's a cone inside the seating die that also crimps the bullet, but this rested really nice against that crimping cone, and it shoved it more or less perfectly straight into the case like I wanted it to, so it worked out really well. And of course I'm using the typical powder everybody uses for Magnum large bore pistols, which is Hoshin H110 powder, and I'm using a CCI 400 small rifle primer. I have not done any experiments using small Magnum primers in the 454 Casull. From my understanding, the only advantage you would have doing that would be maybe a slightly more consistent burn rate, maybe a slightly more consistent extreme spread on velocity. You could probably tighten that up a little bit. But for my purposes, I've never had any issues loading with just small rifle primers, and it seems to ignite the powder perfectly fine, and the bullets do what they're intended to do. So anyways, that is it right there. This bullet has a ballistic coefficient of 0.452. A typical flat nose lead bullet that I would use for this cartridge for the 454 Casull would have a ballistic coefficient of 0.23. So much more efficient ballistic coefficient, much higher. And potentially what this translates to downrange is that the bullet will retain its supersonic velocity further out. Now on the typical lead bullet I would use, it would hold its supersonic velocity up to around 350 yards, and then it goes subsonic. It drops below that 1160 feet per second mark. These would actually not go subsonic until almost 750 yards, around 730 yards, pushed at the same velocity from the muzzle. So it retains its higher velocity way further out, retains much more impact energy way further out in the range. It actually doesn't lose or doesn't drop below 600 foot-pounds of energy until out past 1,000 yards. where the same 300 grain lead bullet would lose its, drop below 600 foot-pounds of energy at around, I think, 400-ish yards, somewhere in there, 500 yards. So this potentially would be a much better hunting cartridge if you were shooting 454 Casull out past, out to 700 to 1,000 yards. And also, one of the other advantages to this is that the bullet doesn't drop as much because it stays at a higher rate of speed for a longer distance. Its drop is more gradual. It's not as like these bullets, the lead ones, when they get out past 300 yards, they really just drop like a rock. They lose their supersonic speed and they really drop. So be much easier to calculate drop on this bullet at a much longer distance than it would be on a lead bullet that's going to be going really slow at a much longer distance. So this is the goal, just to see if we can have an experimental round that will perform well at very long distances. Now, I don't have a range to shoot past 300 yards, so for testing purposes today, I'm only testing to see if these stabilize out of the barrel. I want to make sure they're not keyholing into the target at 50 yards or 75 yards or so. I think we're going to go out to 100 yards. The rifle I'm shooting has open sights on it. It doesn't have a scope, and I don't claim to be a great open sight shooter. So I'm going to do my best. Of course, the rifle's going to shoot much better than I can, and we're going to see how well these do. 25 yards is probably 25 to 50 yards is probably going to be where I'm really trying to keep the group super tight together, at least clover leafing and touching. And if I had an optic on this rifle, I wouldn't even really bother with the 25 to 50 yard shooting. I would probably just go on out to 100. But as it is open sight, we're going to start at 25, we're going to go 50, and then we'll go to 100. And if I've got any left over, I may try to ring some steel with it out to 200 and possibly 300 yards. So without any more, talk about this, we're going to get ready, loaded up, and head to the range. And hopefully by now, it's still pretty early, but hopefully I've got enough daylight out that the chronograph picks up well. I'll probably make some test shots through it to make sure it's picking up, because I need to collect as much data as I can, and I only have like 19 of these rounds, so that's 19 tries I've got to get the data I need before I end up having to buy more. So, alright, let's head to the range. Alright, ultra long range 454 testing. This will be the first shot. I'm going up there and catch the load. Shooting at 25 yards. (1936 feet per second). I'll run down and check the target and see if it went in sideways or if it went in straight. Bullet impacted target good. Did not go in sideways, so we're going to send another one. (1906). Very good. Second bullet, impacted target, exactly the same as the first. One thing I want to note out is that using the same powder charge with these as I did the lead cast, These bullets are actually going about 100 to 125 feet per second slower than the lead cast. So I'm going to send a couple more down there, and then we'll take out the target, and then we'll move out to a little further range. 1927. $1963. Alright, so I went and retrieved the target. This is at 25 yards. This is the first shot, and then the second shot, and the following two shots. So for a 4-shot group, not great. This second 2-shot here, that's more or less what I'm looking for. That was actually really good. But also, this is a really clean barrel. The first time I shot this gun, it was shooting 3-shot groups this size at 25 yards. And I hadn't cleaned the barrel. It was, it still had like the old residue from storage, from, when it was originally packed and stuff. So this is what I'm looking for. These bullets are actually shooting really well. So we're going to go out to 50 yards, and then we're going to go ahead and take it out to 100. But again, these are the bullets that I'm shooting out of this 454 Casull Browning 1885 high wall. And so far the experiments are going well. These are 300 grain, and just the same as my 300 grain lead cast. I have weighed each of these bullets, and they all weigh exactly 300 grains. My lead cast bullets actually weigh about 295 grains on average. So these bullets are going just a little slower. I think maybe bullet design, or maybe the fact that it's using a copper jacket, but they are doing about 100 to 125 feet per second slower. And not that that's going to really affect a whole lot, but I just wanted to point that out. And so now we're going out to 50 yards, and then we will test 4 more rounds there, and then we'll go out to 100. Alright, we're at 50 yards now, and I'm going to go ahead and send one and see where the impact was, and then I'll shoot the following 3. I'm aiming just dead center, the same as I was aiming on the 25-yard target. 1938. Alright, so impact was low right, which was the same as on the 25-yard target. So we're getting really good consistency. $19.46. $19.32. $19.39. So we'll go grab the target and take a look at it. Alright, so we went and got the 50-yard target, and as you can see, this is our 4-shot group, 50 yards, and we're still holding just as tight as we were at 25 yards. So we're going to go ahead and take it out to 100. All right, so we're moving out to 100 yards. Still shooting open sight, so don't know if we're going to be able to group too well. Target's fairly difficult to see. But we'll check the impact of the first round, and then we will shoot 3 more the same as at 25 and 50 yards. It's 1970.
You're right square low.
So we drop down to it's in the bottom right corner, so we're going to aim a little bit higher and maybe slightly left.
You hit the big outside of the big ring.
1949. 1949. 1961. Alright. I'm gonna go get the target and take a look at it. Okay, so here's our 100-yard target. Our first shot was this one down here, and then I made a choice to adjust my point of aim. My point of aim was at vertical center, and I decided to aim around this area, and all of my impacts, the second or the next 3 impacts were all here in a straight line. So really at 100 yards with open sights, that is basically shooting 2 MOA there, about a 2-inch spread from this one to that one, and so it's pretty good. It's not bad. So I got 5 rounds of these left. I'm gonna go to shoot a couple rounds at 200 and 3 at 300 and see what happens. One thing to point out is these bullets are blemished bullets. If you can see, there's folds in the copper jacket on it, and differences in the machining of the tips. So if you can tell, the tips of some of these are machined a little funky. So when you couple that with me shooting open sights, and I have fairly poor vision, I have to use glasses, and we're shooting at 100 yards, it's foggy outside, got bullets that are blemished, really they're still extremely accurate. And so I got 5 rounds left, and I'm going to take these out. I'm going to shoot 2 rounds at 200 yards and try to hit some steel, and then I'm going to take the last 3 and go to 300 and try to hit some steel there too. Alright, so I'm zoomed all the way in on that steel target. It is, I believe the bottom ring is an 18-inch steel gong, and then the upper rings are a 6, an 8, and a 4. So I'm going to try to hit the bottom one. That's my goal. I'm going to aim probably for the, above the metal bar holding in the center, and to the left a little. Good hit.
Good hit. Low left.
And number 2. Good hit. So now we're going to go to the 300-yard gong. It's the exact same size, and we'll try to get it out there. We can't zoom in anymore, so hopefully it'll pick it up moving. All right, I'm gonna send 2 rounds down here at 300 yards at the same size gong. I'm gonna aim probably about at the top little gong and over to the left about I'm gonna say 10 inches or so. Couldn't exactly see the impact. I'm gonna go ahead and send one more. That may or may not have been a hit. I'll send the last one. After looking at the video, I kind of actually hit a little bit low, so I'm going to send this last one. I aim about 2 feet over the target and see how that works.
Right underneath it. I mean, just, you might have actually even skinned it a little.
Yeah. Well, that's all I got. Until I get some more of these bullets, that's going to be the end of this experiment for now. I will be getting some more in the future, and I'll keep y'all updated. Alright, so we're back from the range, and the experiments worked really well. With the ultra long range 454, the bullets were extremely consistent, they stabilized perfect, and the velocities are really consistent. So I saved my targets because, yeah, I'm pretty happy with the results. Like I said, that was the 25-yard target, and did really well with that. And the 50-yard target was nearly the same as the 25. And then on the 100-yard target, we still got a really good, considering I'm shooting open sights, this is really well. I think if I got a good scope actually on this rifle, which I plan to do in the future, but I'm going to buy a Malcolm style period correct scope for a falling block rifle, an 1885 rifle, and which are really cool. All the windage and elevation adjustments are actually external on the scope. The entire scope moves up and down, left and right, which is super cool, and I can't wait to get that on there and then really see how it performs. 2 great hits on the 200-yard gong. The 300 one, shooting open sights at it's pretty difficult. It's very covered up and hard to see already. I think I ended up, the only hit I really got on it was actually a skip off the ground right in front of the target, and it skipped up and hit the gong, which was great. But yeah, that concludes the ultra long range 454 experiment. Big thank you to Alco Bullets for hooking me up and providing me with some good testing bullets. So the experiment did work great, using more or less what were bullets that were designed for a muzzleloader, using them in a centerfire cartridge. I think that they definitely improved how far the bullet drop was from 100 to 200 yards. Was considerably better. So in the future, I am going to be buying more of these bullets, and we'll do more testing, especially when I get a scope on this rifle, and we'll see how we can stretch it out there, and then maybe in the future we'll get to try it out at a 400-yard range and see how they perform at that distance. The velocities weren't as high as I wanted. They were in the 1920 to 1970 range, and I really wanted them to be about 2100, or a little over 2000. Between 2050 and 2100 would have been optimal, since I was getting that with a 300 grain lead bullet using the same powder charge. I may do some experimentation in the future and go up and with the powder charge a little bit, but when I did that with the lead grain or the lead cast bullets, the consistency and velocity started becoming really erratic. So going from 31.5 grains to 32 grains. So I'm going to attempt to go to 32 grains with these and see if I can keep the velocities good. And if they start jumping around just like they did with the 300 grain lead bullet, then we will just stick with 31.5 grains, because that seems to be really consistent, uses the optimal case capacity, and I guess looks like that powder charge at 31.5 grains is the right charge to go with. So in the future, there's going to be some more testing with that, and I've got some other stuff I'm kind of working on. So thank you guys for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, leave some comments below if you want, and share your thoughts with me, or if you got some better ideas or something that you would like to see me test or try. I will try to do that for you. All right. So this has been Matthews Ballistics. Y'all have a great day.